What happens when two powerhouse vocalists clash over artistic integrity in the music industry's darkest secrets? The Kelly Clarkson show was supposed to be a routine promotional stop for British singer RAYE, but what unfolded became one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. Before we dive into this incredible confrontation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really triggered this massive blowout. The studio atmosphere felt different from the moment RAYE walked onto the set. Kelly Clarkson, known for her warm and welcoming interview style, greeted the Grammy winner with her usual enthusiasm. But something in RAYE's demeanor suggested this wouldn't be the typical feel-good chat show appearance. "RAYE, welcome to the show. I have to say, your album has been absolutely phenomenal this year," Kelly began, settling into her chair with that signature smile that had charmed millions of viewers. RAYE nodded politely, but her response carried an edge that immediately shifted the energy in the room. "Thank you, Kelly, though I have to be honest. I'm not sure phenomenal is the word I'd use when describing the journey to get here." Kelly's eyebrows raised slightly, clearly not expecting such a loaded response to what was meant to be an opening pleasantry. "Well, I mean, the success speaks for itself. You've broken records, won awards, and your fans absolutely adore you." "Success," RAYE repeated, letting the word hang in the air for a moment. "That's interesting, because I've been thinking a lot lately about what success actually means in this industry, and whether the price we pay for it is worth celebrating." The studio audience, who had come expecting lighthearted banter and maybe a performance, began to sense something brewing. Kelly, ever the professional, tried to steer the conversation back to safer territory. "I think what you've accomplished is incredible, especially as an independent artist. You've shown that you can succeed on your own terms," Kelly offered, hoping to find common ground. RAYE's laugh was sharp, almost bitter. "Independent? Kelly, do you really believe that? Do you think any of us are truly independent in this machine we call the music industry?" Kelly shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable with the direction the conversation was taking. "Well, I mean, you're not signed to a major label anymore, right? You're releasing music on your own." "That's where you're wrong," RAYE said, leaning forward slightly. "Just because I'm not signed to a traditional record deal doesn't mean I'm free. The same people who control the major labels control the distribution platforms, the streaming services, the radio stations, the award shows. We're all dancing to the same tune, Kelly, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise." The tension in the studio was becoming palpable. Kelly's media-trained instincts kicked in as she attempted to lighten the mood. "I think you're being a bit hard on yourself and the industry. There are so many opportunities now for artists to connect directly with their fans." "Connect with fans?" RAYE's voice rose slightly. "Kelly, when was the last time you had a real conversation with your fans? Not a meet and greet where you sign something and take a photo, but an actual conversation about what your music means to them, about their struggles, about the world we're living in." Kelly's smile faltered for the first time. "I talk to my fans all the time. They write to me, they come to my shows. They come to a show where you perform songs you didn't write, backed by musicians you didn't choose, in venues owned by corporations that see them as nothing more than dollar signs," RAYE countered. "Where's the authenticity in that?" The audience was now completely silent, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Kelly's voice carried a defensive edge when she responded. "I think you're being unfair. I've written many of my songs, and I choose the musicians I work with." RAYE shook her head slowly. "Kelly, I used to look up to you. When you won American Idol, I thought you represented something real, something authentic. But look at what you've become, a daytime talk show host asking softball questions and pretending everything in the music industry is sunshine and rainbows." Kelly's composure was beginning to crack. "I think you're confusing authenticity with cynicism. RAYE, just because the industry has challenges doesn't mean we should tear everything down." "Challenges?" RAYE's voice was incredulous. "Kelly, we're talking about an industry that chews up young artists and spits them out. An industry that prioritizes profit over artistry, that manipulates streaming numbers, that pays artists fractions of pennies while making billions off their creativity. These aren't challenges, they're systemic problems." Kelly tried to regain control of the interview. "But surely you can see the positive changes that have happened. Artists have more control now than ever before." "More control?" RAYE laughed again, but there was no humor in it. "Kelly, do you know what my streaming payout was last month? Do you know how much of that money actually reached me after everyone else took their cut? Do you know how many meetings I had to sit through where executives told me my music wasn't commercial enough, wasn't marketable enough, wasn't safe enough?" The camera operators were getting signals from the production team, clearly sensing that this interview was spiraling far beyond what anyone had anticipated. Kelly made another attempt to salvage the situation. "I understand your frustrations, but I think you're painting with a very broad brush here. There are good people in this industry who genuinely care about music and artists." RAYE's eyes flashed with something that looked like a mixture of anger and disappointment. Good people. Kelly, tell me about the good people who sat in rooms and decided that mental health struggles should be packaged and sold as inspiration porn. Tell me about the good people who convince artists that sharing their trauma is empowerment while profiting from their pain. Kelly was visibly struggling now, her media training warring with what appeared to be genuine discomfort with the direction of the conversation. I think you're being overly cynical about artist expression. Cynical. RAYE stood up slightly in her chair. Kelly, I spent years being told that my experiences weren't universal enough, that my pain wasn't relatable enough, that my anger wasn't marketable enough. And now that I've found success by being honest about those experiences, I'm supposed to be grateful to the same system that tried to silence me. Kelly's face had gone pale, but she pressed on, clearly determined not to let the interview completely derail. RAYE, I think you're conflating personal struggles with industry issues. Sometimes healing and sharing our stories can genuinely help. People help people. RAYE's voice was rising now, her British accent becoming more pronounced as her emotions intensified. Kelly, do you remember when you talked about your divorce on this very show? How many times did your team calculate the emotional impact versus the ratings boost? How many focus groups decided that your tears would test well with your target demographic? Kelly's mouth opened and closed, clearly caught off guard by the personal nature of the attack. That's not fair. My divorce was real. My pain was real. I'm not questioning whether your pain was real. Red shot back. I'm questioning whether the decision to broadcast it was about healing or about content. There's a difference between sharing your truth and performing your trauma. For applause, the studio audience was completely captivated now, some looking uncomfortable, others leaning forward in their seats. This was unlike anything they had ever witnessed on daytime television. Kelly tried to regain her footing. I shared my story because I thought it might help other people going through similar situations. Isn't that what art is supposed to do? Connect people through shared experiences. Shared experiences, Red repeated mockingly. Kelly, what experiences do you actually share with your audience? You live in a multi-million-dollar mansion. You have teams of people managing every aspect of your life. You haven't had to worry about paying rent or buying groceries in decades. What exactly are you sharing with a single mother in Ohio who's working 2 jobs just to keep her lights on? Kelly's defensive walls were fully up now. Just because I've been successful doesn't mean I can't relate to people's struggles. I came from nothing, I worked my way up. You worked your way up through a television competition that was designed to create marketable pop stars. Red countered. You won a contest. Kelly, that's not the same as grinding in small venues, sleeping on couches, and choosing between buying guitar strings or eating lunch. That's incredibly dismissive of my journey, Kelly said, her voice taking on an edge that her viewers rarely heard. I may have won American Idol, but I still had to prove myself. I still had to work. RAYE leaned back in her chair, studying Kelly with an expression that was equal parts pity and frustration. Kelly, do you know what I was doing when you were winning American Idol? I was 14 years old, writing songs in my bedroom, dreaming of having a platform like yours. Do you know what I thought when I watched you win? I thought maybe there was hope for artists who wanted to say something real. I do say real things, Kelly protested. My music has always been honest. Your music, Red said slowly, is what a committee of executives decided would be honest enough to sell records but safe enough not to offend advertisers. There's a difference between honesty and market-tested authenticity. Kelly was visibly struggling to maintain her composure. I think you're being unfair. I've always tried to be genuine with my audience. Genuine. RAYE's laugh was harsh. Kelly, what's genuine about asking me softball questions about my success when you could be asking about the real issues? What's genuine about having a platform this big and using it to make people feel good instead of making them think? There's nothing wrong with making people feel good, Kelly shot back. The world is dark enough. Sometimes people need a break from all the negativity. And there it is, Red said, pointing at Kelly as if she had just proven her point. That's exactly the problem. The moment someone tries to have a real conversation about real issues, it gets labeled as negativity. The moment an artist wants to challenge the system, instead of just entertaining people, they get told they're being too political, too angry, too negative. Kelly was clearly flustered now. I never said you were being too negative. I just think there's a time and place for different types of conversations. A time and place, Red repeated. And when is the right time, Kelly? When is the right place? Because every time artists try to speak up, we get told to stay in our lane, to stick to music, to keep politics out of art. Meanwhile, the same executives who tell us to shut up are making political donations and influencing policy behind closed doors. I think you're oversimplifying a very complex situation, Kelly said, but her voice lacked conviction. Complex, RAYE's eyes flashed. Kelly, it's only complex if you're benefiting from the system. If you're getting exploited by it, it's actually pretty simple. The people at the top make money. The people at the bottom make art, and everyone in the middle pretends that's just how things have to be. Kelly made one more attempt to steer the conversation. But you've found success. You've overcome those challenges. Doesn't that prove the system can work? Red stared at Kelly for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was quieter but somehow more intense. Kelly, do you want to know what my success cost me? Do you want to know what I had to compromise? What I had to give up? What I had to pretend not to see? Do you want to know about the meetings where I was told to smile more, to be less confrontational, to make my music more palatable? Success always requires some compromise, Kelly said weakly. Some compromise, RAYE repeated. Kelly, I was told that my song about assault was too graphic for radio. I was told that my song about mental health was too depressing for streaming playlists. I was told that my anger about social injustice was too political for award shows. At what point does compromise become complicity? The tension in the studio had reached a breaking point. Kelly's media training was warring with what appeared to be genuine emotional distress. I think you're conflating business decisions with personal attacks. Business decisions. Reg stood up from her chair, her voice now carrying a tremor of barely controlled emotion. Kelly, these business decisions shape culture. They decide what stories get told, what voices get heard, what truths get buried. When you reduce artistic expression to business decisions, you're not just affecting artists, you're affecting everyone who might have been moved, changed, or inspired by the art that never gets made. Kelly also stood, clearly trying to regain some control over the situation. Red, I think we need to take a step back here, a step back. RAYE's voice was incredulous. Kelly, that's exactly what's wrong with this industry. Every time someone tries to push forward, to challenge the status quo, to demand better, they get told to take a step back. Well, I'm done stepping back. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of what had become the most explosive daytime television moment in recent memory. Kelly made one final attempt at damage control. I think we both want what's best for artists and for music, Kelly said, her voice strained. Maybe we just have different ideas about how to achieve that. RAYE looked at Kelly with an expression that seemed to contain years of accumulated frustration and disappointment. Kelly, the problem isn't that. We have different ideas. The problem is that you've forgotten what it feels like to have ideas that actually challenge anything. Kelly's face flushed red at RAYE's accusation, and for the first time in the interview, her famous composure completely cracked. You know what, Red? I've been trying to be respectful here, but you're being incredibly ungrateful and, frankly, delusional, ungrateful. Red's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Kelly, ungrateful to who? To the system that tried to silence me for years. To the executives who told me I wasn't commercial enough. To the industry that profits off our creativity while paying us scraps. Ungrateful to the fans who support you. To the opportunities you've been given. To the platform you have, Kelly shot back, her voice rising. Do you have any idea how many artists would kill for the success you're complaining about? RAYE's laugh was bitter and sharp. There it is, the classic response. Be grateful for the crumbs because other people are starving. Kelly, that's exactly the mentality that keeps this broken system in place. Instead of demanding better for everyone, we're supposed to be thankful for whatever scraps we get. It's not about scraps, Kelly insisted. It's about recognizing that success in any industry requires compromise and collaboration. You can't just tear everything down because it's not perfect. Collaboration. RAYE's eyes blazed. Kelly, what you call collaboration, I call exploitation. When the collaboration is between a multinational corporation and an individual artist. When one side has all the power and the other side has to be grateful for whatever they get. That's not collaboration, that's coercion. Kelly was fully animated. Now, her media training abandoned. You're being incredibly naive if you think you can succeed in any creative industry without working within existing structures. The music business is a business, RAYE, it's not a charity. And there's the problem, Reg said, standing up and taking a step closer to Kelly. The moment we accepted that art should be treated like any other commodity, we lost something essential. Music isn't widgets, Kelly. Songs aren't products. They're pieces of human souls. And when you treat them like inventory, you destroy everything that makes them meaningful. That's a beautiful sentiment, Kelly said sarcastically. But sentiment doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't fund recording studios or pay session musicians or cover tour expenses. Reg stared at Kelly with a mixture of disbelief and pity. Kelly, do you hear yourself? You're literally proving my point. You've become so indoctrinated by this system that you can't even imagine an alternative. You think the only way to fund creativity is through corporate exploitation. I think I'm being realistic, Kelly snapped. And I think you're being idealistic to the point of delusion. Realistic. RAYE's voice rose again. Kelly, what's realistic about a system where streaming services make billions while paying artists fractions of pennies per play? What's realistic about record labels taking ownership of artists' master recordings for decades? What's realistic about radio stations that only play songs from artists who can afford pay? Kelly threw her hands up in frustration. So what's your solution? Red, burn it all down. Destroy an industry that employs millions of people. Put every record label employee, every radio programmer, every music journalist out of work. My solution, Red said, her voice becoming more intense, is to stop pretending that this system is inevitable. My solution is to stop telling artists to be grateful for exploitation. My solution is to use platforms like this one to have real conversations about real problems, instead of pretending everything is fine. This is a daytime talk show, not a political rally, Kelly shot back. People tune in to be entertained, not to be lectured about industry politics. Red stepped back as if Kelly had slapped her. Entertained. There it is again. Kelly, when did we decide that entertainment and truth were mutually exclusive? When did we agree that making people think was less important than making them comfortable? When we realized that people have enough problems in their own lives without having to solve the entire world's problems during their lunch break. Kelly replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Lunch break. Red repeated slowly. Kelly, do you know what people are doing during their lunch breaks? They're scrolling through social media, seeing the world fall apart, watching their friends struggle, dealing with their own anxiety and depression and hopelessness. And your solution is to give them 30 minutes of fake positivity and celebrity gossip. Kelly's composure was completely gone now. My solution is to give them a break from all the negativity. My solution is to show them that successful people can be kind and grateful and positive. My solution is to model behavior that makes the world a little bit brighter. Brighter for who? Red demanded. Kelly, your version of brightness is artificial. It's a spotlight that blinds people to the problems they need to see. When you convince people that positivity is more important than truth, you're not making the world brighter, you're making it more ignorant. Kelly was trembling with anger now. I've dedicated my career to using my platform responsibly. I've raised millions for charity. I've supported countless causes. I've tried to be a positive role model. Charity, Red said with disgust. Kelly, charity is what you do when you want to help people without changing the systems that hurt them. Charity makes you feel good while keeping everything exactly the same. That's enough, Kelly said, her voice shaking. I don't have to stand here and be insulted by someone who thinks cynicism is the same thing as wisdom. Red looked at Kelly for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was sad rather than angry. Kelly, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to wake you up. You have one of the biggest platforms in entertainment, and you're using it to sell people comfort instead of truth. That's not wisdom or cynicism. That's tragedy. Kelly's voice was cold when she responded. I think this interview is over. You're right, Red said, reaching for her microphone pack. It is over, but not because you're ending it. It's over because I'm done pretending that conversations like this matter when they're happening in spaces like this. She began removing her microphone, her movements deliberate and calm. Kelly, I came here hoping to have a real conversation about real issues. Instead, I got reminded why so many artists feel hopeless about creating meaningful change. Red, please, Kelly said, her anger giving way to panic as she realized what was happening. Let's just finish the interview. We can talk about your music, your tour, your fans. RAYE paused in removing her microphone and looked directly into the camera. You want to know about my fans? My fans are people who feel voiceless in a world that profits from their silence. My fans are people who've been told their problems don't matter, their struggles aren't marketable, their anger isn't appropriate. My fans deserve better than this. She finished removing her microphone and set it down on her chair. Kelly, I hope someday you remember what it felt like to have something to say that mattered more than whether people liked hearing it. With that, Red walked toward the edge of the set, leaving Kelly standing alone in front of a stunned studio audience. Kelly called after her, Red, please, we can work this out. But Red didn't turn around. She simply raised her hand in a gesture that could have been a wave goodbye or a dismissal, and walked off the set, leaving behind one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. The cameras kept rolling as Kelly stood there, clearly unsure how to proceed, while the audience sat in stunned silence, having witnessed something that would be replayed and analyzed for years to come. What did you think of this incredible confrontation? Did Red go too far, or was Kelly out of touch with the reality of the music industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more explosive celebrity moments and behind-the-scenes drama that you won't see anywhere else.